that weird angle.
Oh,
yeah. I never know how to center you in frame because it always kind of feels like you're too small. This is fine. One sec. Wow, that was violent. You ever sneeze so hard it feels like a shotgun? Wow, that's crazy stuff. When I sneeze, is it weird that when I sneeze, I feel it like right here in my wrist? Like my wrist kind of hurts when I sneeze. Wow, I'm just out of commission, dude.
This is PugCast 7.
It's 8.
I don't have a link. Oh, there it is. Okay.
I'm just going to post on your Facebook in a sec. PugCast episode 8, Calvinistic edition. Good Lord.
Is it Armin, you think?
I don't know. Armin trying to sabotage the show again for his own personal gain. If this persists, I'm going to mute myself.
All right, I don't know what's happening to my screen, but I'm just moving off the tab on Facebook.
I posted it, don't worry. Okay, I can feel it wearing off.
Are we live? Because we're getting...
Yeah, we're live.
We're getting chat people in here. Oh, I gotta silence my thing again here. I don't know what's with Maury. He's just...
Dang it.
I don't know what's with you. You haven't stopped sneezing since we came out here.
I blame Armin because that's the easiest thing to do.
Well, I put him out.
As you can tell, I'm clean shaven now.
Yes, Calvin shaved.
And not having a beard is detrimental to my health.
Right. He shaved and now he can't stop sneezing, so...
Ever since I shaved, in fact, it's been just like this.
You have a question about the Discord thing.
Later, just for fun, we're gonna I'm gonna pop us into a voice chat channel in our Discord. Good, I do not look good when it's paused on my sneeze. We're just gonna pop into the Discord.
Yeah, really, the sneeze cast.
And do some voice chats.
Well, you just tell me what I'm supposed to do then.
I will add a voice chat room right now, in fact, if I can figure out how. Do I have the permission to do that?
Well, I don't know.
Yes, I do.
Because if you need my permission, I don't know how to give it to you.
No, not your permission.
All right. Well, Maury, stop shivering.
Maury. It'll be calls for Maury.
Yeah.
And no, get out of there.
Greetings from Japan, boy. What time is it in Japan?
We're gonna have a 3-person limit.
I could just not be lazy and look it up, but
I'll just keep it at 65 kilobytes a second.
Oh, hello from Rochester. Cindy, were you in Rochester when I was there a year or so ago?
What?
I was in Rochester a year or so ago.
I don't even know what Rochester is.
Rochester, New York. Glad you're reading Unseen Realm. Greetings from Spokane. Yeah, I can't tell who that is, Bible Thumper from Spokane, but I'm assuming you were at the Spokane event. Yeah, I've not looked at anything by Worms,
hey, Dad.
Other than his translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Dad,
maybe the occasional
Dad,
article. Go ahead.
Do you want to try a call? Because we got 2 people in the
I guess we'll try it. What am I supposed to do?
Put your headphones on. It's literally that easy. We got Chaos Count.
My headphones that don't really stretch.
Well, I can move it. Well, actually no, I can't. I'll shift the laptop over a bit.
Well, I'm hearing what I just said now on my headphones.
Yeah, don't worry. I turned that off. Well, we're gonna start detecting desktop audio, and I'm just gonna jump us in there in a sec. All right? You ready?
I guess.
This will change your life, Dad.
Can anybody else hear us?
I mean, we're not in the thing yet.
Yeah, but can the normal live stream people hear us?
Yeah, they'll be able to hear us. And dang it, Bible Nerd for Life joined.
All right.
I'll have to edit the user limit.
Cindy
5.
says, yeah. Okay, so you weren't there before. Well,
all right, okay, I'm jumping in. Let's just see if this works or not. We haven't tried it yet.
Yep.
Hello?
Wow.
Oh, that's loud.
Hello.
That's loud.
Yeah, let me turn that down about 10,000%. Hello. All right, Dad, now you say something.
Okay, something. Here I am.
And can everyone hear both of us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have to
loud and
jump
clear.
in here and say, Peter, we have the effect, but who knows? Calvin knows where it is. Who knows if we'll get to it? But
I don't know if I can add the whip sound.
this is sort of thrown together tonight because I'm going to be traveling tomorrow night.
Dad, we're both in the voice chat with them.
All right.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure. I didn't know if I told you I started it. So we have Bible Nerd for Life, Joshua, and something I'm not going to try to pronounce.
Chaos Camp.
Chaos Camp. There we go. And is it popping up on the stream? Let's see. Just say something.
I can hear them, but I don't know if I'm supposed to be seeing anything on
No, you're
any
not.
tab.
It's
Okay.
just ear stuff, Dad. This is how phones work.
Right, phones. I get it. Okay.
Anyway,
Well,
Hand
Calvin,
me the rotary phone. So.
we just thought it would be fun.
Calvin, can your dad actually see here in the Discord chat, or
Dad has never even touched.
I can hear you, but I don't have anything visually. So.
Yeah, because it's on my
gotcha.
laptop. But so how are you three today?
Yeah, a long day at work, but can't complain. God bless.
Pretty good. God bless
So
you. Hear that, Mary?
where are you at? Who and who is this? So I know the handles, but where are you at?
Okay, well, I'm all the way from Australia. I'm Joshua. I'm talking now.
Okay. I would have never guessed.
That's a good joke.
Yeah. I thought New Jersey or something, you know.
Yeah. Or India.
Yeah, there you go.
What about Chaos Camp?
Wow, Australia.
I'm from Canada.
What part?
I'm in Ontario.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're in the same area as. Isn't that where Steven Crowder is? No, that's where he grew up. He doesn't live
Yeah,
there
I don't
anymore.
know. We're right on the border with BC. That's why
Yeah.
I asked.
We have
Yeah.
Bible Nerd for Life.
I'm all the way in Virginia.
What part of Virginia?
Northern Virginia specifically. I met you before, like over a year ago, last summer, when we was giving that lecture.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm going to be back
Was it
in
the one in New
Virginia
Mexico?
Beach in a few weeks, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be there and we'll meet up again.
And then a fourth person has joined, Dad. You know what their name is?
No idea,
Their name
because
is Talk to My Lawyer.
okay.
Oh yeah, that's me. My name is Jesse. I'm from Virginia, but I'm living in Colorado right now, just west of Colorado Springs, up in the mountains.
My name is Calvin, and I live with Dad.
How far is Colorado Springs from Denver? More
Give or take an hour. Give or take an hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah, we're going to be out there in November because that's Denver's where the academic meetings are this year.
Look, it's
awesome.
Snapchat.
Yeah, ETS and SBL. So.
Hey, Mom. I'll
We'll be out
Instagram-
there.
No, I'll Snapchat your.
Sweet.
Instagram.
I will have to check that out.
Look at how
Yeah.
connected I am to you.
We'll do something. We're planning on maybe doing a little bit more than we have done the last 2 years at ETS and SBL locations, but we'll at least have a get together. So we'll see.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, that does sound pretty cool. Too bad that I'm in Australia.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get to Australia, so that would be nice, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
I'd love to just be on a different continent. I'd like to go to the UK.
Yeah.
I
Well,
got
the pina coladas over here are a lot more better. So.
I hear that your bugs are also 20 times more.
Yeah,
lethal.
really.
Yeah.
Larger and
Well-
more aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've killed a couple of whitetails actually in my room. So
William has a question in the chat. That's just a wallpaper behind me.
Yes.
My library is a lot cooler than that. Just trust me. Yeah, and Andrew, I guess you're not. I'm trying to read the chats here while we're doing this too. So
yeah, apparently the stream's been a bit choppy this time and last time.
Mhm.
Not quite sure about it, but I'm sure the Discord chat is working perfectly fine.
So
The Discord chat's very clear.
Are we like cutting over each other, or is the audio pretty good?
Mom, they can hear that.
No. Both of y'all are perfect.
Yeah, you guys are very clear.
Yeah, because this is going through a different system. Hey,
Yeah,
Dad,
that's
you know what the
interesting.
best thing is?
What?
Discord. You know why? Because it actually works. Stop using Skype. Use Discord. Connect with your fans better. I've been trying to get Dad on the Discord bandwagon for months
Look,
now.
well, you talk to Trey, because that we use what Trey tells me to use.
If Trey's telling you to use Skype, fire Trey.
No.
Fire him.
It's divine intervention.
I'm sure there's some reason why we're doing Skype. So.
The only reason Skype even makes money anymore is because in foreign countries where Skype is cheaper than using traditional phones, that's where it's used. Skype is.
Does Discord cost anything?
No,
or?
Discord is free. And
You got a point there, Calvin. Got a good point.
Skype has never truly evolved and is at the bottom of the gene pool of technology.
Well, I'll have to let Trey know that Skype has 0 fans, but he may have some reason for doing it.
Skype is
and his reason might be as simple as he thinks Mike can use it. So if it's any more complicated than that, that's probably a good reason.
Yeah, but Discord's great. Someone made a bot called Erasmus, and you just type in these commands in the regular chat, and it'll fetch verses for you and specific translations. It's great. It's a great tool. I think
all I need is I just need something to work when I'm sitting in front of it. That's because I'm not using tools. I'm just there.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna expand the chat so more people can get in because I don't have the heart to kick anyone out, and I don't even know how to do that if I.
Yeah, somebody just said I'm in the Discord unseen realm. That's not too bad. That's pretty good. Melissa's in Australia too. Good grief, what's up with
the
Australia?
Discord I'm in is called Sentinel Apologetics. It's called RTB Biologos Naked Bible.
Yeah, that's Robert. Is he on?
No, Robert's not in here.
Robert's on solo, right?
All right, I have a question for you guys because you guys, I know, just
you're youthful
looking on Facebook at what Robert does, and I've asked Robert this question too, just this evening, and I'm throwing this out to everybody in the chat. This may end tomorrow. I don't know when we're going to announce our Naked Bible Conference, the first one. It will happen. It's going to be in August in Dallas. But there was somebody I was trying to get as a speaker to do something apologetics related to Jesus myther stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that person has not returned emails, so I am open to suggestions. I'd like to have somebody who does apologetics. I've got enough Old Testament, I got enough New Testament people, and systematic, it doesn't really float my boat, at least at this point. But the Jesus myther stuff seems to be important enough and gets enough interest that it would be nice to come up with somebody to do something there. So if you guys have suggestions, let me know.
Will you be at the event, Dad?
Oh yeah,
Will
but I'm
Maury be
only
there?
speaking once. Let me put it this way again, without divulging too many details, because I'm supposed to wait until Trey says I can give the details. But this conference is what Christian Middle Earth conferences need to graduate up to. Okay, let's just put it that way.
But will Maury be there?
I doubt that more. I think he's sleeping standing up. I don't think I've ever seen him.
I think that's just Maury's state of existence.
No, I don't think Maury will be there. But
Personal opinion, I prefer the cut.
Oh, nice.
We got a new person here. His
yeah,
name
I
is
think we
Ocean.
could rule James White out
James
because he still thinks he just can't stand me because of Psalm 82, And if you actually lurk around at his website, I basically referred to the people that were assigned to dismiss me as something like his minions or his lackeys or whatever it was.
What does
You
James
two are still
prisoners?
beefing.
What was that?
Does James take prisoners? James White?
I don't know.
So Chaos Conf, why are you calling everybody in here?
Because this is important.
Okay.
What's important
So
about
I see Lacona.
Well, for us.
By the
Well,
way, wait on. Dad,
Lacona might
Dad,
not be a bad
Dad,
idea.
I just want to quickly address something. Everyone in this group, there's 8 people now.
I mean, with Lacona, I mean, he's good, but how? I mean, there's different varieties of mythicists, like Robert Price. He's pretty much just a cheap punching bag that it can be easily knocked out. It's Richard, Robert Price. Pretty much, he's his own standing army. He's Richard Carrier is the more problematic one because he has more of the historical training and background in that area.
So you're angling for somebody who has spent a lot of time in Carrier's work.
Because Carrier has the he has the academic background in that particular field of history, so you need somebody who's trained in that same area but can make a more definitive case.
How about I don't know, but how about Gary Habermas? Is he familiar in that?
Does he do anything with Carrier stuff?
I'm not too sure about Habermas. I just know that Habermas and Lacona wrote a book on the case of resurrection. It's a good book. No doubt, but yeah.
Well, that must have been a redo of Habermas's old book. I mean, because that's been around for a long time. Was it just a revised edition, or what was that?
I don't know if it was a revision or it was just a new one that came out. This was like early 2000s, somewhere along that line, at least when I read it. Basically, it makes a more historical case for the resurrection and the probabilities of it. Cause,
I'm gonna look it up here.
It's been a while since I last read it, but yeah.
Dad, in the group call, we have 9 out of 10 users. One of those is me. The people who joined since last time I announced this was Ocean, Christian Man, Hound of Heaven, and Armor of God 92. Yeah. They haven't really been talking much.
Yeah, I have the Habermas Lacona book. I said 2004.
Andrew Riddle says, Maury has the face that says, I have more to say than my dad. What do you think of that, Dad?
Well, since Maury's asleep right now, I would dispute that. So. But when Maury's awake, he's formidable. Let me just put it that way.
Maury's a formidable debate opponent. If you ever gotten in an argument with Maury, you lose instantly.
Actually, Maury would be the perfect candidate against Richard Carrier.
Yeah, I'm not gonna invite James White to my conference.
Let's have a boxing match between Maury and James White. A charity boxing match.
First, he needs to get a clue when it comes to Psalm 82, and it's a real shame because I've directed a lot of people to his website, in the past, and still do, but it's just really awkward, to send people to his website and then they find him flipping out over Psalm 82, and he won't spend any time thinking about it because you can't find it in the Westminster Confession, I guess. But I still send people there because he does good work.
Hey, Dad.
But in this area, he's just it's really not worth my time.
I think he's too caught up in
that channel I made.
Politics.
You know that channel I made recently that I've been making videos for? Am I allowed to announce that, or is that like a secret thing?
Don't announce anything until you're ready to do it.
All right. I mean, I recorded some of it. I've edited some of it. I just got to launch it.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Christian Cowboy
it's very
suggests.
Educational.
Yeah. Sort of.
I'll lead people the way.
Christian Cowboy suggests Bach. Daryl would be good. Daryl's always good. I have some Old Testament. I have some New Testament. I'm just trying to find somebody. Again, I thought I had somebody that sort of fit this niche, but
Well,
how about Daniel Wallace? I'm pretty sure he's written a book.
See, he's another New Testament guy, but Dan is probably going to be out of the country in the summer. I mean, most of the last few years, he spent his summers, scanning manuscripts, traipsing all over the Aegean, which of course somebody needs to do that, but I doubt he'll be available. But again, finding Old and New Testament people isn't hard. It's just finding somebody that is in some other
has a
area.
profession in that area.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
How about David Wood and Vocab Malone?
Okay, Bible nerds first, and then I'll get to Matt C's. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's come back to David Wood, but go ahead, Calvin.
No, I thought someone in the chat was going to ask a question. Maybe I misheard it. Was someone going to ask a question?
I was
I might.
I was going to ask a question, but I think I was going to divert. Chaos, you can go first, man.
All right. So Matt C, and I don't really know much about this question, but he said it would be a quick one. So he says, why is Eden both described as a mountain and logically under the Arabian Sea? Genuinely asking, lol.
Under the Arabian Sea.
His words, not mine. I don't know anything about geography, so.
Well, Eden is described as a mountain and a garden because it's the domain of the gods. It's cosmic geography. That's why it's both. Craig Blomberg, again, New Testament guy. There was somebody else on here. Oh, somebody brought up in the Discord thing, I guess it was David Wood.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I've seen several of his videos. Does he do stuff other than Muslim stuff? I mean,
he deals with atheists as well, although his main primary focus has been centrally Islam. But he also deals with atheists as well, because he's also got a PhD in philosophy.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
I actually support him, so I know a little bit about his background, but I've only watched maybe 4 or 5 of his videos. I thought his testimony video was great.
He's actually going to be writing a book too.
Have any of you interacted with him?
I was at his debate with Shabir last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago.
Does he speak often? Like, is this like a once a year kind of thing? He comes out of his hole and, or does he do a lot of this? Like, where does that fall?
I think it's primarily when he's invited and when he has time. I don't know entirely how he works around it. Another one would be Vocab Malone.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think I've heard that name from somewhere.
What name?
He's on James White's podcast.
No, I've never heard of him.
He's an employee of James White, right?
I don't want to say he's an employee of James White, but his apologetics ministry for right now, it's primarily been against Black Hebrew Israelites, but he also deals with Muslims and atheists on the side as well.
I think I met him at ETS. He was passing out a book, something about Black Israelites.
Yeah, Barack Obama versus the Black Hebrew Israelites. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, boy, his first name is Vocab.
Is
that what he goes by?
Yes. Yeah, that's the name he goes by.
My advice to you is if you show up at an academic conference, look like you belong there, because I almost threw the book away. I mean, he looked like a rapper, and it's like, oh, come on, because I get people hand me stuff all the time, but fortunately I didn't throw it away. I looked at it, and he has good credentials. It's like, but you're just not going to be taken seriously. You got to dress sort of for the occasion, and I almost threw away good material is my point. So, but I'll give that some thought, because I don't know. That would be like if I did my Middle Earth conference. You know, my response to Middle Earth. He'd be perfect for that kind of thing. But I don't know about this one. Go ahead, Cal.
Okay, so we got questions from a few people. I'd just like to. So we're gonna do Discord user Unix1, then Joshua, then Chaos Camp. I'm just gonna read Unix's question real quick. It says, well, the second part's not a question, but it's kind of important for context. So here's what he says. When it says Enoch and Elijah were taken up by God, did it really mean they were taken up into heaven? As from that teaching, I've heard people say that Enoch and Elijah will be the two witnesses.
Yeah, well, the two witnesses thing is, you can't even be sure that it refers to actually two people, two individuals, in terms of what might be going on there in Revelation 11. I know that might sound unusual because everybody just sort of goes there. If you are in the two individuals category, they're not the only candidates. Heaven doesn't have latitude and longitude, so they didn't wind up in a place that you could go there and measure the distance and all that stuff. So I take all that kind of language as the spiritual realm, which again doesn't have latitude and longitude. Let's see, will Walton be there? No, John is not going to be a speaker this year. You know, hopefully some year we will be able to get him there.
All right. We have one. Joshua, you had a question, right?
Yeah, I've got a question to Dr. Mockelizer.
Well, feel free to ask. And then
question is. Question is, do you know how you've done commentaries on Leviticus? Would you eventually do that with like the Gospel of Matthew and Mark and etc.?
Oh, you mean like a series on the podcast?
Yeah, on Naked Bible, like do a commentary throughout the whole.
I guess in principle, yeah. We typically let people vote on it. So I don't know if that'll ever come up or when it would. Someone mentioned here Phil Fernandez. Did Phil finish his PhD? Because I've met him a couple times at regional ETS meetings. Does anybody know him? Oh, I guess he. Okay, I guess he did here. I'm on his web page now. Did somebody hear Phil recently, or?
Not that I've heard of.
There's a video here on the Jesus myth stuff. Has anybody seen that? Or let's see here. Let me go back to the. Let's see here. Yeah, Clifford says there's noise on the phone line. I think it's typing, or.
Yeah, some people are typing.
Yeah. Phil would not be hostile to my work again, because we've had a number of conversations, but.
How about Michael Brown?
Yeah, I just don't want to get into our stuff. We did that, and again, he's an Old Testament guy. I want somebody outside of Old or New Testament.
Gotcha.
Yeah, hold on. The comment about vocab Malone, again, if you're at an academic conference handing out books that you self-published, no one will presume it's good material if you look like a rapper while you're doing it. Okay, these are, like it or not, these are a bunch of people that are PhDs, and they're typically over 40. Okay? You're just not going to get any hearing, and the material is not going to get the respect that it deserves. So fortunately, I didn't throw it away. Again, he has good credentials, but you just got to know your audience. I mean, that's 5 minutes of audience analysis. So again, like I said, I'm glad I didn't throw it away, but you got to put a little thought into that, and look different to a different crowd. I mean, you wouldn't go to a younger crowd and look like you just came out of the 19th century either. So you just got to know a little bit about who you're trying to get your material to, because a lot of people if you just walk up and hand them something, they'll be polite and take it, but they are not going to look at it. Scholars expect things to be published by real publishers, and so you sort of start the engagement at a disadvantage. But again, fortunately, I held on to it. Yes.
Two things. The next question, but before we move on to that, I just want to bring up. Remember that first time we went to California for Universal? I think no, it was the time before Universal, right? But remember, I got stopped in the street and some guy gave me his mixtape. Remember that?
I remember that.
His name was Lotus Jackson. I remember it like it was the day before, and he said he came from Washington. He really did. That wasn't a lie. We thought it was at the time, but it wasn't. But his mixtape is still just in my drawer in its original packaging, never once been opened.
Well, you might be surprised. Like I said, I looked at the book.
If he gets famous, I'm gonna sell it back.
I'm glad I did. But.
No, if he becomes famous, I'm gonna sell it. Anyway, Chaos Comp, you said you had a question. Oh wait,
yes, I did.
Joshua's did get answered, right? Because I zoned out a bit in the middle.
Yes.
And I got lost.
Yes, it did. It got answered. It got answered.
Jamie, is it Jagle or Yagle? I watched some of Jesus as Legend. Who did that? Is that Fernand? Because I'm looking at it in the chat timeline, and it's right under De Silva.
The YouTube chat or the Discord?
The YouTube chat. I'm not even looking at the Discord. I don't have that up on my screen at all. But since it falls below De Silva, I'm wondering if that's something De Silva did, or is that something Phil Fernandez did?
Can someone in the YouTube chat tell us if the audio levels are garbage? Because I really hope that they are like loud enough to be on the same level as us, the people in the chat. And further than that, Chaos Comp, you have the floor.
Right. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm sure you are very familiar with Meredith Kline and all the stuff he did. He had a human view of Psalm 82. What would your comment be on that?
He's wrong.
Oh.
No, the problem is he projects that on the basis of Genesis 6:1-4. He takes the divinized ruler view. But the problem is you never have divinized rulers, plural, in the ancient Near East anywhere to account for the marriages. Now that, again, for those who aren't familiar with the whole line of thought, the idea is that, kings, they were thought to be divine, and they had harems, and so that must be what's going on in Genesis 6:1-4. Again, you never get that talk as a collective. In other words, you never have more than one king who is considered divine in multiple harems. It's always just one guy. And it's divine kingship is a little more complicated than that as well. So not only doesn't the divinized human ruler view work, there's no precedent for it in the ancient Near East, but it completely ignores the Mesopotamian Apkallu story. This is the death blow to every human view. And Kline didn't have access to that information. I just got done with a chapter on the Apkallu stuff in Genesis 6 for this Demons book I'm working on at work, and I've only been able to find 2 articles written before 2010 that even mention the word Apkallu. 2, and again, they're not discussions of the material. I'm saying that even mention the word, which is really shocking. Now you can find the Apkallu mentioned in a book by Helga Kvanvig, a Brill title, but it is basically unknown, again, until 2010, Anas's work. So I'm going to be fair to Kline because I really like Kline, but he just did not have access to this material. And any human view, if you just willfully ignore the fact that you have a Mesopotamian story set before the flood, and the events of it go before and after the flood, and that story accounts for literally every element of Genesis 6:1-4 and Genesis 6:5 for that matter. If you just willfully don't look at that, and if you think a thought like, well, that doesn't really have anything to do with Genesis 6:1-4, even though it has all the elements, that's just wrong. Okay, that's poor method at best. And again, Kline isn't guilty of any of those things. He never had it. He never had access to it. So I don't think a human view really has any prayer of being correct, because you basically have to pretend that the comparative material isn't there. That's just what you have to do. But again, that's not a flaw with Kline. That just, you can't blame someone for something they couldn't look at. So yeah, my volume is on.
Does anyone have a question for Maury?
Yes, I have a question if you don't
Peter
mind.
says keyboard makes me want my grenade launcher.
That's
funny.
Louder than us. We should probably.
You need to give Peter the whip sound for that.
We'll learn.
That deserves. That's awesome. All right. Yeah, somebody wanted to ask something.
Who has a question for Maury?
That's me. You mind if I ask you two questions, Dr. Heiser?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. My first question is, in regards to Psalm 82, do you think that old gods like Zeus, Apollo, and others that aren't worshipped right now are dead? And my second question would be, do you think there's any biblical basis for the ascension of Mary?
Say the second thing again. What was the second part again?
His question was, is there any biblical evidence for the ascension of Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know any biblical evidence for that. And the first question is, I don't think any of them are dead, because Psalm 82 and Isaiah 34, and, those are the two obvious passages, are eschatological, connected with the day of the Lord. And since we haven't seen that point yet, the answer would be no.
Oh, we have a question in the Discord that I missed earlier. Can I say it?
Say it. Go ahead.
It's from user One Way, and this is a bit of a longer one. But this is what he says. He says, "Being a Calvinist and such, could you point me to some source prior to Epicurus? Epicurus. What is that?
Epicurus?
Epicurus? I don't know. Could you point me to some source prior to Epicurus that would indicate Moses or the author of Genesis 1 had any conception of libertarian freedom, which apparently did not exist yet for him or his audience? Epicurus was the first libertarian in history? ? I ask because you seem to say in your talks on Genesis 1 tactily that this idea was around in Genesis 1, 26 to 27.
What are the dates for Epicurus?
He didn't put the date, at least not.
Well, let's look him up here.
And he says, and also insists we should not read later ideas into the ancient text. 4th century AD.
Oh, sure, I know one earlier than that. How about whoever wrote 1 Samuel 23? Again, God foreknows things that don't happen. That should tell us that the things he foreknows, all things real and possible, he doesn't force all of those things to happen. All I'm saying is that people can actually make decisions. And if you can't make a decision, you're not created as God's imager. Why does God withhold that one attribute from you? You get all the other communicable attributes, but since we don't like that one because we're Calvinists, we're going to take that one off the table. We're going to take that arrow out of the quiver. That to me is ultimately self-serving. All I'm saying is that we are like God and we can make decisions that are uncoerced. Doesn't seem like too shocking of a thing to me. But you pull out a Bible verse. If it's 4th century AD, every book of the Bible is older than that. So all you need to do is find one verse that has somebody making a decision that's uncoerced, and there you have it. And I think we do have that in Genesis 1. I think all that we are, in terms of what we are as God's creation, we are a reflection of him. That's part of the imaging idea. We represent him. We don't get our attributes from anybody else. We don't get it from the animal kingdom. We don't get our attributes from somebody who didn't create us. The one who did create us was God. And so if God is capable of making an uncoerced decision, he, again, in my view, he doesn't withhold that one from all of the other attributes he shares with us. if he did, then he's coercing things like the fall. I don't see any evidence for that. And he's coercing every act of evil, up until maybe the 4th century AD. I don't know. But the whole system doesn't make any sense to me. And again, I don't, people seem to think that maybe I have some problem with election. I don't. God can do what he wants. But all I'm saying is that it is unreasonable, and I would say unscriptural, to say that he withheld that communicable attribute and gave us all the other ones. That is an entirely self-serving position, just to prop up a theological system. All right, now it's BC. Yeah, well, 1 Samuel, most of all the Old Testament's older than that. So.
Dad.
Yeah.
The Earth is triangular.
Okay, don't even start with that, Calvin. All right.
The Earth is flat.
Okay. How come? If the Earth was truly round,
it's tetrahedral, right?
Dad. If the Earth was truly round, can you explain why the level of my water in this water bottle is flat?
I thought you were going to go with cats would have pushed everything off the edge or something like that. Something
round earthers, can you
something
explain
more
this?
Profound,
Okay. What?
There's a question here from Brendan about the word kind. Again, where does that fit in biological terms? The short answer is I don't know, and neither does anybody else, and neither did the biblical writer, because the biblical writer is not thinking of our modern scientific taxonomy, nor could he, because A, it wasn't invented yet, and B, we're dealing with an audience that doesn't have that knowledge anyway. So I don't want to press biblical vocabulary into scientific nomenclature like I know how to do that. I mean, I realize other people do that all the time, but I think that's really unwise and not a good method. Translation on the Book of Enoch. I recommend Vanderkam and Nicholsburg. You can get it on Amazon. It's a little paperback. And it's the translation taken from Nicholsburg and Vanderkam's 2-volume commentary on Enoch. They produced their own independent translation. It's up to date. It's text critically up to date. It's the best scholarly current translation of Enoch, and you can get it in a little paper book. I actually gave away some of these on an Amazon giveaway, months ago. So that would be the one I recommend. I had another question I asked the apologetics question, so I'll think about Phil. I'll think about the carrier thing again. I just have to put some thought into this. Let's see. There was one other thought.
How many viewers?
Trying to recover it now.
We have 45 viewers right now, Dad.
What was that other one? Boy, I can't remember it now, but
also
it'll come back to me because I just have to stick with the apologetics angle. I just want somebody there that's from a different field.
Also, I know this isn't really a Q&A stream, but I got someone in the Discord who hasn't asked anything yet. Do you want to take their question?
For Calvin?
No, just in general.
Did you see Shape of Water?
I have not seen it yet, but I posted that thing on my website that I need to. Calvin, you haven't seen that?
No, I haven't, but I've looked into it because I really want to see it.
Yeah, I guess I have to see it. So
it's weird.
Did you? All right, since you've seen it, does any of the dialogue? Did anything stick out in the dialogue that might relate to Gilgamesh? Apkallu stuff, anything like that? Any sort of throwaway line, or because that's what I would be looking for.
Not necessarily. However, it's interesting. The film, it does two things with the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
One, the fish monster goes into the theater, watching a movie about the story of Ruth,
Mm-hmm.
and that involves idols and all that. So I guess there's a connection there. Maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the fact that when the evil white Christian male guy or whatever, when he quotes Bible passages, he brings up the story of Samson and Delilah a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess because I don't know if Guillermo intended this, but because the Samson and Delilah story ends with Samson destroying the temple to Dagon,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess erroneously Dagon is perceived as a fish god.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the movie, the irony is that the fish god creature that's hold on.
Is that a spoiler?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Like, let's just say that. Well, I kind of have to spoil it now at this point. But like,
what's so funny? I'm just listening to this summary here.
Like at the end of the film, the irony is that the creature just sort of resurrects itself after getting shot.
Yeah, don't they all?
And then,
it just.
Yeah. And then he goes over to the main antagonist, and the antagonist, he's like, "Holy crap, you are a god!" And then he slits his throat. And there's like that Samson and Delilah story that's being brought up, and at the end of that story, Dagon's temple is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
But in this story, the fish god wins and kills the Christian man. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Wait, he killed me?
No, not you.
That's
No.
That,
antagonist.
Honestly, that sounds kind of run of the mill, but yeah,
I still want to see it. I already know what happens at the end because I read the synopsis. Because I thought I'm never going to be able to see this.
$15 saved. Well, is it based on a book?
No, it's something Guillermo supposedly made, although there's a lot of similarities it has with older films.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not very original.
Well, I know he wanted to do this romance based on Creature of the Black Lagoon.
I know that there was. So. I don't know if this is true or not, so I'm not going to claim as if it's true. But the guy who plays the fish dude in Hellboy.
Yep.
The actor who plays him, isn't he also portraying the fish guy in Shape of Water?
Yep.
Is it really the same guy?
Yeah, it's the same guy.
Well, that's typecasting.
Man, are you excited for Hellboy 3, the next Hellboy movie?
It's like...
Are you excited for that?
Well, I don't know anything about it, but
okay.
Now you have me thinking about the fish guy.
Hopper
It's like
Stranger Things. The guy who plays Hopper from Stranger Things.
He plays Hellboy.
I cannot wait for it. It's my.
I can't believe that they got this guy again to do the fish guy. I mean, that guy has to be thinking like, can he get a job other than playing fish people? I mean, has he done anything else?
Why would he need a job other than fish people?
But
yeah, I think he got a job also doing.
It just seems so ironic. Doing what?
Sharks.
I think he got a job doing sharks. As a shark.
Was he in Sharknado? Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah.
Please do not remind me of that science fiction nightmare, please.
Yeah. He's actually one of the biggest actors who plays like monsters and everything in a whole lot of movies. I just saw a little YouTube documentary on that same guy. So
that's really interesting.
You know what my favorite So Bad It's Good movie is?
That's interesting.
You know what it is, Dad? My favorite So Bad It's Good movie?
The Room. Please.
Not The Room. I hear saying I really love it, but I can't say that because I haven't seen the full thing uninterrupted in one sitting. But as of right now, so it doesn't qualify. But as of right now, Mono's Hands of Fate is something special.
Oh man, yep.
Mr. Science Theater.
Torgo's Pizza.
Torgo's Pizza.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
The guy who played Torgo, he was like apparently
he's not the fish guy.
No, he's not the fish guy. No, but apparently for some parts of the shooting, he was on LSD for some reason.
So that wouldn't surprise me.
Which
okay.
Man.
How hard is it to play a fish guy?
Probably a lot if they need one guy to do it.
It'd be real hard. It'd be real hard if you had to move the gills by yourself, I guess. But
I'm sure they could CG that.
Yeah. Now they could anyway.
Maybe not CG.
Yeah, other people moving the gills for you.
Right.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
it's a very interesting
claymation.
problem.
You move like a third of an inch, and then they got to move the gill and take the shot.
Shout out to my favorite claymation, Davy and Goliath.
Yeah.
Well, playing it's not so much the hard part. It's sitting there for several hours enduring the makeup and
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the torture.
Like, I was in a play and I got
I'm not
irritated
joking.
just getting like my eyebrows done for the play. And if I had to be in that full fish getup, I'd like go crazy having to sit.
You had
in
your
that shit.
eyebrows done for the play.
Yeah, because they just had to throw a bunch of stuff on my face, right? And probably there were eyebrows. They just darkened my eyebrows. They popped
Okay,
them
because
all.
they were afraid nobody would see your eyebrows. If
Dad, you really would have had to seen the play, which you
well, I
didn't.
know
You
that's
didn't see the
because
last one either.
you schedule plays every time I'm gone.
I don't schedule the plays.
I know.
Maybe that fish guy will play a good Leviathan in a Bible movie.
Yeah, there we go.
Or
Yeah.
not called him.
I just love how I said, "Oh, we'll take a call this stream," and then the whole stream has just been us in the call.
Yeah.
A lot of people here though. That's fun.
Well, it just has me interested now in who that guy is and what else he's done. So
You know who my favorite actor is?
Documentary says the most famous actor you've never heard of, or something like that, and it's him. He talks about all his different roles and stuff like that.
Eric Roberts is the best actor.
okay, you're just losing your mind now,
No,
Calvin.
Eric Roberts is the best. Have you ever seen the movie Stalked by My Doctor?
So look, he's
Mwah.
getting this
Cinematic
from
masterpiece.
my wife and my daughters love to watch. What are they? They're Hallmark, right?
Terrible Lifetime movies.
Lifetime movies, and they love to just. It's like Mystery Science Theater for women, when they just like
watch
one of those movies. So,
but let me
that's
tell you
where
something
he's
about
getting
Eric Roberts. His IMDb page is like a novel, a really bad novel. But he's been in so many things. He's been in the Dark Knight films and stuff like that.
When
He's
was
gonna be
he
in a
in the
movie called
Dark
Homie
Knight?
Alone.
When was he in the Dark Knight?
I don't know. He was just in the Dark Knight. He played some guy named Maroni.
Batman Begins, I think, was the one he was in.
Yeah, and he has 498 acting credits.
Somebody asked about the Ebola tablets translated into English. A lot of them already are. You get stuff like that in volumes like Context of Scripture or Pritchard's stuff. You're going to get them in journal literature, that kind of thing. But since those kinds of books are reference books and they have to be selective because they want to put texts in there from all the ancient Near Eastern cultures and not just one, it's selective. So let me see if anything else more recent has been done on that.
Eric Roberts played the role of Man in Bluebird. Fun fact.
Oh boy.
When you guys have a chance, can I ask a question at some point?
Go for it.
Okay, so there in Egyptian mythology, they had connected, when they got invaded and stuff, Set or Sutekh to El, and then they mention in one of the myths 72 accomplices to Sutekh, like were helping Sutekh get Osiris in trouble and cut him up and whatever. And El has the 72 sons with Asherah, and these might correspond also to certain stars and constellations and things that people had associated with these. And later there's also, Kronos and the Titans and all of that. Is there any material where I can find a listing of what they were talking about, like the actual each one of the constellations or whatever they were referring to by that?
I would have to know exactly what text that is, because if all that stuff's present in one text, that's really late. That's really late and whoever was producing that is intentionally just throwing it all into the blender. So if I knew exactly what the text was, then you can sort of tell kind of where it fits in terms of the history, the literary history of, you know, its place in the history of the story is probably the easiest way to put that. But
yeah,
I mean, you don't have a term like El in Egyptian for a deity. You know, it just that's Canaanite stuff brought in, and then Chronos and all that. So that has to be really late.
I was actually making all those connections. The actual story just mentions Sutekh and 72 accomplices that helped in, you know, putting Osiris down. So one would imagine that they're associated with the popular constellations or something like that. Really, what it seemed that it was connected to was how Sutekh had become a bad guy when he was associated with the invasion from the east. So one would imagine that is talking about El and his 72 children with Asherah, the sons of Asherah.
Yeah, I'd have to do a search through my collection of, you know, Egyptian astronomical stuff, to see if that pops up anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I have a good bit of that, you know, kind of material, but yeah, I've not, nothing is coming to mind right off the top of my head like something I've read, but so I'd have to go look that up. You should give me a couple. Give me a couple lines of that of the question in an email, so I can somewhat intelligently search that.
Sure, I would like to do that. What is your email?
You can. Is it still on the web? It's MSH, my initials, and then Michael.
Okay, 1 second. I have to write this down.
MSH, then my first name Michael, Michael, middle initial S.
Okay,
H,
so.
Yeah, HEISER. So MSH Michael S. Heiser is the.
Is it the Gmail one?
MSH Michael
S. Heiser.
Michael S. Heiser.
Yeah, at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Okay. One more thing. In Second Temple Jewish literature or anything, there was a lot of maybe some Greek reference and also in early Christian stuff talking about Tartarus and the fallen angels or titans and things like that. Is there any book like from the time that had collected a good deal of that lore and mythology and kind of mixed it up or anything like that?
What, an ancient book?
Yeah, well, somewhat, yeah, right around that time period where they had tried to collect it.
Well, some would say that the best answer to that is First Enoch. I mean, because there's just a lot of that stuff in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, is that's like asking, is there any book other than Enoch that has more of that stuff in it?
Yeah. I was meaning like
Jubilees,
church fathers or.
Oh yeah, not in the early church. I mean, nothing's going to be like Enoch or Jubilees would be another one. I mean, you're going to get Irenaeus makes references to it. Origin, there's going to be some in Origin, maybe a little Tertullian, Justin Martyr, those guys. But as far as like, they're not doing like a compendium. They're just referring to the material. Calvin,
yeah, it's pretty brief what I've found from each of them. Okay.
But I have some good articles that you know will give you the source references to all that stuff, like in the footnotes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Calvin, go ahead.
I just want to point out, just want to clarify something. Badadu's joined late. He missed the beginning of the podcast, and he's asking who's on the phone. We're for this episode, we're just going into the Discord, and we just have an open voice channel, and people just come in and they talk.
Yeah. And we're also we're done in a couple minutes.
Also, my favorite person in the world, Gary Wayne has come up in another question. What can I say? He just takes no prisoners. Gary Wayne, my favorite. By the way, I just want to point out that but right now
that's just gonna live forever.
Right now, his website is listed as unsafe. Like it's.
Well, that happens to mine too. So
you know my favorite thing about
we
Gary
we
Wayne
get hacked or whatever happens there. So
Gary takes no prisoners.
Yeah, no, I've not read Gary Wayne's book. See, now this has me wondering: is this the same person that asked me before?
It is. It's the same.
Or like,
website
did you plant this? You know.
Hey, Dad, you don't want to miss this one. Excellent, a must-read for any researcher of the Nephilim and their last days agenda.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no.
I'll put it down.
Hey,
Yeah.
You don't mind if I ask a question?
Go ahead. We got a couple minutes yet.
All right, sure.
Yeah. Just, what did you? So recently I found out that the Wrinkle of Time movie, the book, actually had a lot of Christian symbolism in it, and that was taken out of the film.
Yeah.
Like, I this is sort of the current climate with certain films trying to remove everything. I'm surprised that the first Narnia film did not get the same treatment, considering,
Yeah, I think that's because of the producer in the studio. Walden Media was the outfit that put that out, so they're more positively predisposed to Christian content. I don't know who put this one out. Who was it? It wasn't DreamWorks, was it, or somebody?
It was
can't.
Disney.
Well, Disney. That Disney's not going to go near anything Christian. I mean, it just this is not your father's or your grandfather's Disney anymore.
Badides has another thing. He says, "Do you give notices when you're going to do a live podcast?" I assume that's what he means by the PugCast. And yes, notifications. If you're subscribing and you've clicked the bell, you'll get a YouTube notification. And if you follow my dad on Facebook, I'm sorry, if you're friends with is it friends or is it like a page that they follow on Facebook?
They should be following the author page. I don't know what you call it.
Well, it's on Facebook, I guess is the easy way of saying it.
Author page. I don't know if they call it professional page. I don't know.
Just Facebook and YouTube primarily. I'll start posting them in
Discord.
Because
I can't accept friends on the normal Facebook page anymore because I've reached the limit. So we posted something about using the author page, but I don't even know if I'm using the right vocabulary.
We got time for one more question?
I have one if you don't mind.
Go for it,
Wisdom search. It was a joke, Mike. Okay.
Hound kind of got dibs on it.
Go ahead.
All right. I wondered if you had an opinion on Henrik Dronel's theory on the scribal polemic of the later part of the Watcher's account in First Enoch.
You gotta be more specific.
Okay, so in Punishment of Asael by Henrik Dronel, how he goes and he says he shows comparisons between different parts of the what the Watchers do and the practices of the scribes and magicians.
Yeah, Honest does the same thing, and Dronel seems to.
Yeah.
Dronel doesn't do much with Honest's material. I don't know if they sort of overlapped or whatever. I think he references Honest's work once or twice. There's 3 articles that Dronel's done. They kind of overlap. But he objects to the Apkallu identification because of the scribal stuff. Well, Honest doesn't deny any of that. Yeah. So I don't know if Dronel wants it to be an either or question, like either the scribal culture is behind this or the Apkallu. It's not an either or question. It's a both and. So my opinion, if that's the question, I think if Dronel's guilty of anything, it would be sort of an overemphasis of one point of comparison to the exclusion of the other or to the minimizing of the other. But you might be angling for something different there.
I was just seeing what your take was on his dating of the latter part of that narrative that's usually connected to like the later story of the Greek Titans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember what date he assigns to it.
Yeah. I have a super important one.
Because even the Titan story, there's actually two versions of that. You know, there is no one Greek Titan story. It's basically what we know as the Titan story is the result of two traditions. So I'd have to know kind of which one he's referring to, and to be honest with you, if you really want material on the connections between the scribal tradition in Mesopotamia and the idea of that what the scribes and the craftsmen, by the way, it's not just the scribes, what they knew as being secret knowledge from the gods. Alan Lindsay's book is the premier source for that. It's called Secrecy and the Gods. So, you know, Dronell is, I don't know if he's interacting with, I can't remember the footnotes, if he interacts with Lindsay or not, but if you want to track on the primary source material, the source for that is not Dronell, and it's really not Annas either, it's Lindsay for that.
We'll check them out.
So, all right, I need to get going because yes, you heard me correctly. I have to go to the gym.
Could I just get
one more
just a shorty,
shorty,
not to pester you. Just on, I've messaged you, I've emailed you a couple of times. I don't know if you've juried who I am, but last time I emailed you, it was on theology, on a book that you could recommend me to theology, and you have recommended me to one book. It's Christian Doctrine, Introduction to Christian Doctrine. I was just wondering if you could recommend me to another book that you would have in mind as well.
Are you talking about systematic theology?
No, I'm talking about Millard. It's done by Millard J. Erickson.
Yeah, that Christian Doctrine, the third edition, is his systematic theology. He has a lighter version of that. I think it's called Introducing Bible Doctrine, something like that. But do you want a different systematic theology, or?
Yeah, something more in depth. Yeah. Not to throw a curveball just randomly.
No, I mean, well, Erickson's the big Erickson. I mean, it's that has more depth than what you. I'm trying to think of other systematic theologies that would be required reading in a seminary. I mean, Erickson's sort of a go-to source. Erickson and Grudem are the two most used, and I think Erickson's is more substantial than Grudem, which is why I recommended it. But if you go beyond those two, now you're talking about 19th century or older theologies. So, like Augustus Strong was one that I had to read a lot of in seminary. Berkhoff is another. These are all one-volume works. If you want to get away from one-volume works, then you're in things like Hodge, his 3-volume, and that's for many years that was the old standard Reformed.
So when you say
Grudem,
you're talking about Wayne Grudem.
Wayne Grudem, yeah. That I think Erickson's is more substantial than that. But Erickson and Grudem are the two most used systematic theologies today in the evangelical orbit. And again, if you're sticking with one-volume works, Berkhoff is in there, Strong is in there.
Okay, beautiful.
Robert Raymond, Reymond. Yeah, he has arguably the most recent Reformed systematic textbook. It's probably a little shorter than Erickson's, but it's strictly the Reformed tradition. And beyond that, it's sort of the standard, like Augustus Hodge, Charles Hodge. They both produced, lengthier,
And this would be material that you would recommend.
Well, I can't recommend anything, like completely or wholeheartedly, but they're going to be widely known and widely used in the Orthodox tradition. When I say Orthodox, I mean, Orthodox Trinitarian stuff, not Eastern Orthodox, but you get the idea.
Yes. Yes, I do.
For centuries, a couple centuries, like the Hodges, those are 2 generations, Augustus and Charles, were kind of the mainstay, in Christian theological study. Berkhauer's Christian Dogmatics, that's actually a multi-volume work. Again, right around the same time, 19th century, early 20th century, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
Nobody's really producing anything like that now. That Thomas Oden has a 3-volume theology, but it doesn't have words like systematic theology, I think, in the title. And Oden is interesting because he came from an evangelical tradition, and then he went liberal, and then he recovered his faith in the last decade or so of his life, and actually redid his theology. So that makes him interesting.
So Oden, what it was like? What's his name? Oden.
O-D-E-N. Thomas C. Oden.
Imagine having Odin in your name. That would be great.
O-D-E-N, not O-D-I-N.
I know, but still.
Yahweh is a soldier.
Yeah. So he's interesting.
Do you have any reference to you mentioned once burying Apkallu figures under houses? I don't know where to get that.
That's in Honest's article on the origin of the Watchers.
And that's the only place where there's something like this going on, where underworld chthonic figures are used as a kind of protection under houses.
I'm sure they're not the only. I'm sure that's not a unique practice, but specifically the Apkallu, that's where I saw it. And I mean, he footnotes, some. I don't know if he footnotes somebody else's research or if he just footnotes the primary, text references there. But that's where I saw it.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna.
Shall we leave?
Yep.
Shall we head out?
Yeah, I got to get out of here.
All right.
Thank you for.
This has been PugCast
attending
number
or
8.
listening.
And join us next time when we
go hit that gym, Dr. Heiser.
Yeah.
Figure out.
Get ripped.
Get ripped, Dad. You hear them?
Yeah, right.
If anybody needs it, you do, sir.
Of course.
Oh. Well.
I'm not gonna.
This is Andrew, by the way. I appreciate everything you've done.
They appreciate the stuff you've done. Some guy named Adrian, I think. I couldn't hear
Andrew,
sir.
Andrew.
There we go.
Andrew,
We're still live, Dad. I'm gonna end it right now.
Eat your greens like Popeye.
Join us next time when Maury figures out the flat Earth.